Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today you'll be representing a political party who's forming 9 election districts in America's 51st state. From historical election data, you know which communities favor which party and by how much. You'll be trying to assign communities to election districts as well as reassigning communities from larger districts to smaller districts to better equalize the district sizes. And you're trying to control more districts in the end. Distrix is an award-winning game of skill for 2 players, takes 30 to 60 minutes to play, for ages 14 and up, and published by Distrix Games. Today we'll be doing a rule school, where I'll teach you how to set up and play the game so that you don't have to read the rulebook yourself. Now I've placed timestamps below me in the description of this video, just in case you want to jump to a specific section of the rules. Without further ado, let's get started. Distrix is an award-winning game of skill in which 2 players, red and blue, compete to control more than half of the 9 political districts in America's 51st state. Each game there's 36 communities randomly set up, and each of these communities have historical election data that know which communities favor which party. Like this one, red by 8, this one, blue by 4. Over the course of the game, those districts are established with home bases and expanding into different communities. So on their turn, players are establishing new districts and expanding those into different communities. And in this case, the vote margin's tied, 9 red to 9 blue. And sometimes you'll be reassigning a community from a larger district to an adjacent, smaller district. And it's a tug of war over communities until the board gets completely full and there are no legal moves remaining. And it's an evolving puzzle as each turn the scoreboard is updated, and whoever has the most districts that they control at the end of the game is the winner. To set up, you're going to find all 36 community tiles and place them face down like this so they say districts. You're going to shuffle them all up face down like this. Next, you'll flip those tiles face up and you'll create a 6x6 grid. Now you'll notice the numbers are facing us where the camera is. It's also facing the other side. You're going to have one player sit on that side of the table and another player sit on this side of the table. Next to the board, you're going to place the 9 different home base tokens and the supply of all of the expansion tokens. Next, you'll place the scoreboard A sideways like this, because both players that are sitting here and here will be able to see it looking this way. Now you want to orient this with the side that says red side next to the red player, and the blue side being closest to the blue player. Now, the players can decide which players are playing red and blue, and they'll also decide who's going to go first. Now, even though this board is sideways for easy viewing for both players, for the rest of this video I'm going to show it to you this way so it's easier to teach the game. You're going to take one of these scoring cubes for each of the districts. For example, we have the gray, pink, purple, blue, green, yellow, orange, red, and brown. And we're going to place the scoring cube on 0 of the corresponding colors district, and you're going to want to make sure that the top is blank. They do not have any numbers on them. The object of the game is to control more districts than your opponent. Now on this side we have the red player, and they are controlling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these scoring tokens, 1 for each of the different districts, where the blue player is controlling 1, 2, 3, 4 because they're on their half of the board, so this player would have won 5 districts to 4. You're trying to just beat out your opponent. Now the community tiles start blank with nothing on them like I showed you in setup, but I've seeded the board to help facilitate faster learning. The game is played with a player taking a turn, and then the next player taking a turn, and continuing through this cycle. Now there's 2 phases of the game. At the beginning, it's just the beginning of the game. And during that, you have 3 options for what you can do on your turn. The first one is establishing a new district. Now, if you remember looking at the scoreboard, the different colors of tokens are the different districts. So here is the yellow district, and it consists of a home base token and expansion tokens. So this district is on 4 community tiles. So this one is 4 communities large. This purple one is 3, and so on and so forth. Now, to establish a new district, you take any home base token that's not on the board, and you place it onto a community tile. Now, you cannot place this adjacent to any other home base token, and adjacent is anything that shares an edge. Meaning I could not place it here because it's adjacent to this one. Same with this, it's adjacent to here, adjacent to here. You can place it so it's that it is diagonal next to a home base. That is a legal placement of a home base, establishing a new district. Also, The home base must be placed on a tile that has 4 or more communities in an open space. An open space are connected tiles that do not have any tokens on them. So like here, this is a connected space, but there's only 3 of them. So I could not place this, well, I couldn't place it here because it's already adjacent to this, and I can't place it here or here because this open space of this community, of these 3 communities, is 3. It's not at least 4. So let's say instead I decide to place it right here. That would be the end of the turn and go to the next player's turn. Well, what else can you do? In addition to establishing a new district, again, you're only doing one thing on your turn, you can expand a district. Let's say the next player wanted to expand a district. To do that, you take an expansion token from the district you want to expand, in this case it's the gray one, and you place it adjacent to a tile that already belongs to the district. Well, right now it's only the home base, and adjacent, remember, is something that shares an edge. You cannot, this diagonal is not adjacent to this. So they could place it here, here, or here, for example. So let's say they go ahead and place it here. Remember, you can't have more than 4 community tiles at this point as part of that district. Right now it's just 2, so that's okay. Now, why are you establishing districts and expanding districts? Well, because each of these are in a community, and each of those communities have a voter margin. For example, this purple district has red 1, red 8, and red 4. If you add all those up, there is a red voter margin of 13 because all those communities were red as we showed you. Now, you'll notice that the purple community, all of these only go up to 12. So when you go higher than that, that's when you're going to flip the scoring token. And in this case, we flip it to a 10 because it's 10 plus 3. So this is 13. So when you look at the scoreboard here, we know that purple district voter margin on the red side is 13. And if we look at the yellow district, it's at 8 and 2 for blue and 8 and 2 for red. So right now, that district is right in the middle with 0 voter margin on either side. And for the last example, if we look at the orange district, we have a 9 and 5 of 14 of red and 6 and 2, so 8 of blue. So if we take that 14 minus 8, that is 6, and the red side was ahead, so it's on the red side. So anytime a player takes a turn, since they're modifying the board, you'll also need to modify the scoreboard as well. There's a couple other rules to expanding a district. In the beginning of the game, remember, it can never exceed over 4 communities. Now let's say this is how the orange district looked, and someone tried to expand it and they did it just like this. Now what this does is this actually captures a tile. And that's because this tile is between the edge of the board on one side and a single district on the other side. So it's completely captured by this district like this. So this one will get an additional expansion token like that. Now remember, even when doing this, it can never be bigger than 4 tiles. So this orange district, that's okay because it wasn't going to be bigger than 4 tiles. However, if the board looked like this, the purple district cannot be expanded here because it would normally capture these 2 tiles because there's just the edge of the board and a single district, and this would bring it up to more than 4. So they could not place this. This would be an illegal placement. If the board looked like this, the purple district cannot be expanded here either, because what this does is it traps a district. You cannot trap a district at the beginning of the game when you're expanding a district. And this is trapped because there is a district that is different from this one here that can no longer expand to 4 communities. The biggest it can be is 2, and so this cannot be placed because it traps this district. Now that gray district was trapped by that previous example by 1 district, the purple one. But if the purple expansion token is placed here, this is trapped still, the gray district, but since it's trapped by more than 1 district, green and purple, that's okay. Now let's say the board looked like this. Remember, on your turn you're doing one of 3 moves at the beginning of the game: establishing a new district, expanding a district, or this third one, reassigning a community from a large district to a small district. So let's look at this green district. It's adjacent to this orange district. Now this district is a large district. It's at the max of 4, and it's adjacent to this smaller district. It has at least 2 communities more than this. This has 1, this has 4. So this actually has 3 more, so that's okay as long as you have at least 2 more than the smaller district. It also has to be adjacent. You can replace one of the expansion tokens with the one from the smaller one, but they still have to be adjacent to each other. And you can never replace a home base token with this way. You can only replace expansion tokens. And don't forget to always update the scoreboard. Before this happened, this green district was just in this community, so it had a voter margin of blue 4. where now it actually has a voter margin of red 5 because you have a red 9 and a blue 4. At this point in the beginning of the game, we have 8 of the 9 districts established there. There's one district that is not yet established, and it is the red one. Now remember, to establish a district, this needs to be placed in an open space that has 4 or more communities. Well, there aren't any. This one's 3, this one's 3, this one's 3, this one's 1, this one's 1. There's no legal place to place this. In this case, you can establish a new district using a substitute move of this type. Now it needs to be placed in an open space that's tied for the largest open space. So we have a 3 here, a 3 here, and a 3 here. It cannot be placed here or here, but it has to be placed in one of these open spaces. In a case of tie like this, you can choose which one. And when you do so, you must place it so it is furthest away from the nearest home base token. So let's say we took this red home base and we placed it here. Now we also could have placed it here, because remember, you just have to be furthest away from the closest home base. We could not have placed this one here because it's too close to this yellow home base, but here or here would have been fine. But let's say we place it here. Now once all 9 districts have been established, you're no longer in the beginning of the game and your choices of actions change. Now you only have 2 options. One of them is to expand a district, and this is placed just like before. Now I could not place this, because remember, you can never still be larger than 4 communities in any district. But a placement like this would be legal as normal. Now this one is 4 communities large. Another possibility is reassigning a community from a large district to a small district, which I showed you before, but there is a difference. In this case, you can do so, and you can replace a home base token, which you could not do at the beginning of the game. So if this one wanted to change this, reassign a community, they could take this home base token out and place this here. Now, you could not have done that at the beginning of the game. Now this one is 3, and this one is 3. And just because you remove a home base token, it does not disestablish this district. It still stays in scores. So this token would then be removed because you are no longer establishing districts because they're all on the board, and that token is just going to be removed for the game. Now towards the end of the game, it might happen that expandable districts, meaning those that have a vacant tile next to them, might already be at 4 for pretty much all of the communities. Like this one can expand to here, but there's already 4. Same thing here with this one. This district has 4, so it could not expand any of these open communities. Same for this one, it's at 4, so it couldn't expand to here. And this one actually has less than 4, but there's no vacant communities next to it to expand to. Now, under these conditions, you can expand a district, but there is a substitute rule to it, meaning that the tile must be adjacent to, a tile that's next to a district as normal, but only the smallest expandable district can do that. Now, this one is 4, this one is 4, and this one is 4, and this one is 4. So any of these are possible districts that could expand into these open tiles, but let's show you some other things that might happen. Now, this purple expansion cannot happen here because this would cause this tile to be captured, and you can't capture a tile in this way. But let's say the gray expands to here. Now, the gray could not expand to here or here because it's no longer the smallest expandable district, because this one has 5, this one has 4, that one has 4, this one has 4. So there are other expandable districts that are smaller than this, so this one could not expand anymore. So let's say then the purple district expands here. The orange district then expands there, and the brown district expands there. Now, just because the board is completely full with tokens doesn't mean the game ends, because the game doesn't end until it's full and there's no legal moves left, and there's still opportunities to reassign a community from a large district to a small district here. Now, when reassigning, remember, each district has to stay connected, meaning I could not reassign this as a pink district, because now this brown district is disconnected. They are not connected to each other because remember, they're not sharing an edge, so that would be an illegal placement. But you could, however, reassign this one as a red district like that. And because this one is 5 and this one's 3, it's at least 2 bigger, so this one could actually get reassigned like this, so there are still legal moves remaining. And same for green, this one's at 3, this one is at 5, so this one could get reassigned like this. And at this point, the game would end because there are no legal movements left. And I'd like to point out that like this pink district is 3, but the ones that they are adjacent to that they could possibly reassign to are not too larger than this. They're only at 4, this one and this one. So this one could not be reassigned. And same for this. The red has a size of 3, but this is 4, this is 4, this is 4. They're not at least 2 bigger, so they couldn't reassign. So at this point, the game would end because there's no legal moves left. And remembering, obviously, with every move you're updating the scoreboard, so at the end of the game it might look like this. So in this case, we see that the red player has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 districts controlled, where the blue player has 3, so the red player would win. Well, I hope this helped you dive right into Distrix. Now, if you have further questions about the rules, I placed a link below me in the description of this video. And that's the best place to ask them, since not only will I be notified, but so will District Games.